Good morning, security gang. Welcome back to the CyberHub Podcast. It's great morning to be with all of y'all. October 13th in 2025. So many reasons to be grateful and alive this morning. First, in kind of local podcast news, it's the birthday of my son. So by all means, it's a great day. Happy birthday to my little one. You may only turn 4 today, but may you maintain that innocence for as long as humanly possible in a world like ours. And as a father, I always wish my kid lots of health and a good conscience and good deeds, and that's really critical. Additionally, 20 families in Israel were reunited with their loved ones that were brutally kidnapped on October 7th of 2023. President Trump, as we record the show, is in Israel, giving a speech in the Knesset, that's the Israeli version of the parliament, and touring and meeting with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu before he heads to Egypt for a regional conference, and then returning home by tomorrow morning. I'm tired from that agenda. I saw the president's agenda and I was like, I don't know how he does it. I think the president's 79 years old, and I'm half his age, and I'm tired from that agenda. I would feel like I would need probably a day or two to sleep after an agenda like that. It's a good day. The hostages are back home. I mean, peace is looking on the horizon. All of those things are positives, and we can take a moment to celebrate them. Yes, lots of questions remain. Yes, will it actually hold? We can afford to be a little optimistic in a non-optimistic world often. All right, folks, let's get into cybersecurity news this morning because we've got a lot to talk about there. But before we do that, I've got my double espresso. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. Perfect. Okay. So we'll kick off this morning's show with Sugar Land, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston, reporting a cyber event that impacted online services, including utility billing, permits, and 311. Now, whenever we see attacks on municipalities, we always worry about the 911 public safety system. That system is completely segregated from the rest of the operational system, meaning even if you're able to attack that, the 911 system is not part of that. That still remains operational. State and federal agencies are assisting the city of Sugar Land with the incident. Scope and actors are not disclosed as of yet. This continues a month-long drumbeat of Texas municipal hits. So it's again not easy. Multiple folks in Texas have already had ransomware attacks, including the city of Dallas and Matagorda County, and that's the cities of Mission and Lubbock and Abilene. They've all had their fair share of cybersecurity incidents. All right, as a good kind of lesson here, one, you really do need to segment, and you got to micro segment your. If you're a CISO or an MSP or an MSSP or an IT team at a city, microsegmentation would help have this much of an impact. And then publish offline payment alternatives. That should be something everyone has, and as well as rotate any exposed credentials, and then MFA plus SSO for civic applications. And again, have your citizen communication in play before you get in there. That's also very, very critical. We move to a massive campaign and a coordinated attack that's taken place against Cisco Palo Alto networks and Fortinet appliances. Gray Noise is observing 3 exploitation waves of the Cisco ASA FTD 0 days tied to Arcane Door, a 500% surge in Global Protect logins probing 1.3 million unique attempts, and a concurrent Fortinet SSL VPN brute forcing all launched from the same subnet and infrastructure, suggesting a linked campaign. Gray Noise is warning Fortinet brute force spikes often preceded new vulnerability disclosures within 6 weeks. So these are tools we all use. It's hard for someone to say, I'm not a Cisco Palo Alto 40 shop. You're pretty much one of the 3 for the most part. They have, I believe when we checked, around 80% of the market share. So that's 80% of the market. So a few mitigation factors here this Monday morning as you're kind of looking at this. For Cisco, patch CVE 2025-20333 and 20362. Throttle and Geofence Global Protect portals, that's really, really critical. Enforce FIDO2, disable weak ciphers and auto-block IPs participating in VPN brute force. Monitor for anomalous portal logins and mass authentication failures on all of those systems. Now, all of these attacks are coming from attackers based in China with a similar infrastructure. So who would have thunk it? Chinese are at it again. We'll move to this new Oracle e-business suite flaw that's enabling unauthorized data access. This is separate from their zero-day, folks. So this is a completely different type of flaw. Oracle alerting that CVE 2025-61884 is a configurator. It's remotely exploitable, unauthenticated issue that affects EBS versions 12.2.3 to 12.2.14 and can expose critical data. You want to apply those updates ASAP. This is distinct. This is, again, very different from the other Oracle. So you want to patch it up. You want to remove EBS from direct internet exposure. You want to enable WAF rules on it and monitor HTTP access to configurator endpoints for spikes of anomalies. That's one way to do it. Oracle's Chief Security Officer, Rob Duhart, pointing out that the vulnerability affected some deployments, and it could be weaponized to allow sensitive resources. So you want to make sure you get this addressed. All right, folks, a quick message from our friends over at ThreatLocker. Do zero-day exploits and supply chain attacks keep you up at night? Worry no more. You can harden your security with our friends at ThreatLocker. Imagine taking a proactive, deny-by-default approach to cybersecurity, blocking every action, process, and user unless specifically authorized by your team. ThreatLocker helps you do this and provides a full audit of every action allowed or blocked for risk management and compliance. Onboarding and operation is fully supported by their US-based support team. Stop the exploitation of trusted applications within your organization to keep you running efficiently and secure, protected from ransomware. Worldwide, companies like JetBlue trust ThreatLocker to secure their data and keep their business operations flying high. To learn more about how ThreatLocker can mitigate unknown threats and ensure compliance for your organization, visit threatlocker.com/cyberhub. That's threatlocker.com/cyberhub. Okay, thank you to our friends over at ThreatLocker. Let's continue here with the malware tooling in the Oracle EBS extortion campaign. That's the first EBS zero-day extortion campaign. Google's Threat Intelligence Group, and also known as Mandiant, detail an exploit chain likely using the July patched issues plus the zero-day CVE 2025-61882 with malicious DP templates drop in a Java downloader, which is the goldvein.java, as part of a multi-stage payloads. Activity may date to July 10th, with some confirmed exploitations by August 9th. Shiny hunters and scattered lapsus hunters publishing their proofs of concept targeting CVE 2025-61882. So again, if you haven't patched this specific CVE, it is something you definitely should be doing right now. So again, two different payloads, the goldvein.java, as well as the second stage payload from the command and control server. However, that they haven't been able to retrieve the second payload stage as of yet. So as that becomes available, we'll be sure to bring that to every single one of you. All right. One of the greatest risks for any organization is obviously cybercrime and financial loss. The reason for it is because a lot of times it lays within a threshold of a risk the company is willing to accept. So we kind of write it off. And this one here is significant because according to our friends Storm 2657, phishes credentials and MFA via an attack in the middle type of attack in the middle to take over Exchange and SSO, modify Workday, HR, and SaaS direct deposit details to hide the activity with inbox rules, and then they enroll attacker MFA devices. Microsoft tracked the compromises at multiple U.S. universities with thousands of downstream phish. So again, this is a direct impact to the bottom line. This is the adversary in the middle type of attack. I'm sorry, this morning has just been a little crazy. All right, So Microsoft said it observed 11 successfully compromised accounts at 3 universities since March of this year that were used to send phishing emails to nearly 6,000 email accounts across 25 universities. The email message featured lures related to illness or misconduct notices on campus, including a false sense of urgency and tricking recipients into clicking those fake links. So you want to mitigate against this by enforcing phishing resistance MFA, a FIDO2 type of solution, conditional access, alert on bank detail changes, block device code authentication when possible, and also auto flag suspicious inbox rules and MFA device changes. The latter is harder to do. However, we have a policy in every organization I've been in Payroll that we establish a baseline of how often do people change their bank accounts for direct deposit. Anything above that baseline requires phone authentication. Just FYI. Something simple. We did it with HR. It works like a charm. People like it. The employees like it because we're paying attention to their accounts. And it gives us another interaction point. So something really, really effective. We'll move to Juniper shipping 220 fixes, including 9 critical issues in the Jonas space. That's CVE 2025-59 or 9 or 78. That's across site scripting to admin level command execution with additional denial of service info leak fixes across Juno's OS evolved. No exploitation has been reported, and there are limited workarounds. So patch priority here is really, really high for these Juniper networks of vulnerabilities. So first of all, upgrade to space 24.1 R4 plus patch V1, review exposed space and SD management interfaces, lock down admin access to management networks only, and enable logging and alerting on any sort of configure changes there. You can obviously, there are multiple CVEs here, and we'll have these available on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com after the show. 12 RCEs, CVSS up to 8.8, and 1 local privilege escalation released as limited adversaries after Trend Micro's zero-day initiative published 13, mark that, 13 advisories describing unpatched vulnerabilities. And guess what? Avanti's endpoint manager. Find yourself someone that loves you the way the Chinese love Avanti and the way Avanti loves vulnerabilities. Find yourself someone that does that. All right. So according to 1 local privilege escalation released as limited advisories after vendor delay, authentication is required for most RCE path, but risk is non-trivial in enterprise. Avanti says fixes are coming. Trend Micro's zero-day initiative advises restricting product exposure. So if you want to mitigate, rip and replace. Rip the cancel from, rip and replace. Just at this point, rip and replace. But if you insist on keeping it there because you glute for punishment for whatever reason, you're like, Avanti, why can't I quit you? Then, if that's the case, then you want to remove the EPM council from the internet, restrict to management, VLAN, VPN only, enforce SSL MFA for council access, monitor for suspicious, and report and export action, and plan for rapid patching on vendor release if that's your thing. The FBI over the weekend taken down BreachForums hours before a promised mass leak of data tied to the Salesforce using firm's BreachForums domain displayed a law enforcement seizure notice from the FBI, DOJ, and some French agencies. The group says the Tor mirrors persist and their extortion of 39 brands continues. Salesforce says it won't pay and linked the activity to a third-party incident, tying it into the sales loft there. So if you're a Salesforce ecosystem, rotate your API keys and OAuth creds, review connected apps and scopes, and pre-draft customer comms. Watch for copycat phishing, leveraging the takedown news as a way to get into your environment. And finally, something Spain's actually doing. Spanish authorities have arrested the alleged leader and seized infrastructure tied to the GXC team, linking to phishing, malware, and financial theft operations across Europe. Disruptions lower immediate volume, but expect regrouping and splintering. If you want to know how to mitigate this, again, update block lists and IOCs from the takedown, monitor for brand new domains that mimic related GXC infrastructure, and tighten payment change verification controls to blunt business email compromise fallout. The Civic Guard dismantling it, the arrest of a 25-year-old Brazilian man considered to be the main provider of tools for the massive theft of credentials in the Spanish-speaking environment. And again, this date goes back to Brazil, Spain, Slovakia, and the U.S. So that's a good takedown there by the Spanish authorities, taking a little bit out of cyber crime. That's it for our show this morning. We'll obviously be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest. If you have any stories you want us to cover, like people always do that, they'll always send us stories. We do some of those stories, and other stories we're unable to validate. I'm just going to put that out there. We're unable to validate. We don't get responses, and unlike Candace Owens, I like to verify my stuff. So with that being said, if you do have stories, please send them over. We'll gladly look into them. I've got an intern team of researchers that helps with the show whenever we get new stories that we're trying to validate. We also have great industry contacts, so we're always able to validate stories as they come along. So just keep that in mind. CyberHubPodcast.com for all the latest. Until then, have a great rest of your day. Have a great week, y'all. And most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.